La hizo inmensos Dios, su quiero que tu corazón me refieras a la hizo inmenso y ahora de la por comando de la hizo for the great things that are following our heaven. Concerning everything and everything, your heart of the practice of yourself, spirit is formed, what is which are good on our behalf of all kinds of forgiveness our sins, Lord, mercy, therefore, has been freed. Your goodness, O Lord, from this holy day, and all days of our life will not be peacefully or fear, like the temptation, the work of Satan, and so the wickedness of the cup of enemies, still and manifested away from us, and from your peace, from this holy place that is yours. But those things which are without powerful will provide for us, that is yours, your authority, and serpents and scorpions, and upon all the power of the enemy. in the tomb according to the prophetic voices of the third day Christ rose from the dead. Sharing glory. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Now we worship Him and glorify Him for the theory. Beni boydan grace and the hearing and no in all the world. Glory, glory, que se abre sobre los nuestros shainim and we have no glory and we know that we will have sharing with the Maya, our fathers and our mercy, gracious Lord, bring forth all our souls and us all our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, every pastor, besides God, the rest all, the faith of the way, dreams are growing, like all the Lord, and of their body also. But then there's no point that according to the true promises which are related, liars and doing things of your promises which have I not seen, nor have you heard, neither has come upon the heart of man that they do you, O God, not prepared for those who love your holy, for there is that of your servants, but the departure, and even if any negligence or evil has overtaken them as bad, since they were clothed in the flesh and dwelt in this world, O God, as the good of lover, I pray for the Lord, behold, and forgive your servants, for the whole world, from the east to the Lord, to the according to his name. And he's according to the name for no spirit of God, that even those life learn me as sin, they as also Lord. Also, they have taken repose and made to be worthy of the kingdom of heaven, and as also Lord. Grant us our Christian perfection, be pleasing to you, give them and us as share and share to the Holy Lord, sins, Lord, have mercy. we ask of Saint full of glory, that according to the gospel of Christ, and our prayers unto the God's Son, that he may forgive us our sins, hail to the Holy Virgin, and brought forth Son, full of life. The Christ our God has, and Lord our God, that we may have mercy on us, and forgive our sins. O Virgin Mary, only the hope that takes us from all that kind of receive our hand and all right. Holy Lord, that you may grant us forgiveness of our sins. By his might and his life and on us, he is the one who has descended to the lower parts of the earth, that is eternal peace. Sorry, man, we're afraid him all this and so therefore he was not appointed, he has crossed the gate to rest, and from the earth of fire he brought it. Of his chosen one will rejoicing, and will join him up with him. And took his wings of rest and saved them from the forsake of his name and revealed his power to them. Therefore we are rich with perfect something and peace. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Jesus Christ, the King of glory, is risen from the dead. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And forever he was nourished with 40 years in the wilderness, he gave the man that would eat the bread of the angels. Flock instead of them, and they gave him his everything instead of the things they did the crowd for him. They have given him into the like all outside the city, saying, "Who is Jesus? And all Christ again early in the first day of the week, Christ was from the fourth and turned back in the standing and gave them eternal sin. Therefore we sing with them and David saying, God will anoint thee, who honestly hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, Jesus Christ, the King of glory, the risen from the dead, the adornment of Mary, the Lord is heaven, as the rock and her way off, thinking in water being down, and saying, Song of Father, the song of songs, my sister, and my spouse, my cruelty in Jerusalem. They say, come out of her. Sharing the holy parties, following the meeting, sharing social media, and sorry, on the Emmanuel. And the resurrection of Christ, the carrying the people, you give as all earnestly and Michael after to them. He answered and said, "Go and bring him, who are you looking for? He is risen, he is not here." For you replied, I was and will be for you to Galilee, there you will see him. Behold, I have told you. For you who were crucified for who was so Christ repenting of glory you have risen from the dead and granted us your joy.
In our behalf, all the nature of resurrection, my God, and heaven, that he may forgive us our sins.
Oh, mark the apostle and the evangelist and witness of the passion of the only begotten God.
You have come to light and love food of God, your gospel and taught us the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
You brought us out of the darkness into the true light, leading us the realm of life and came down from heaven. Sharing a flame of you, sharing me from humility, sharing the apostles, our to be the Lord. Saint George from Cleveland, 7 years being good, daily by 70 lawless kings. He was in David saying, all nations surrounding me, but in the name of Jesus my Lord, I to prevent from them.
Oh my Lord, Prince George, for Christ rejoices in you, and the heavenly yourself.
Sharing a holy martyr, sharing me, joy and making us, sharing the lost Lord, that is more glorious. Be a watch over us from my burning will lady of us, only ever refuse to us.
Our Lord, Savior, take away our trouble, return us.
Sharing the holy martyr, all every day, sharing social saving, sorry, economic Emmanuel. We exalt you, the Mother of True Light. Take away our from us with the cause of your salvation, and forgive us our sins.
Mercy, Lord, have mercy, Lord, have mercy.
So, after the expression of the said, listening to the only one, the apostle, many prophets and righteous, and the I've seen things which you not see, and when to hear things which you hear, and have not heard, and as for you, blessed are I for they, see, and your ears for they, hear your ear and head, according to your gospel, to the prayers of you, Lord, says, Lord, mercy, remember our mess, and all those who bless through the prayers, which are from you, Lord, that word of the Spirit, honestly repose them, those who are sick, heal, and draw our soul, the salvation of soul, healing of soul, and redemption of soul. Hallelujah.
For Jesus Christ, the King.
Glory is risen from the dead on the third day and day.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Happy King, the Lord, the
And make us worthy to pray, thank you, our Father who art in heaven.
How your wish to the Lord. Let us attend in the fear of God. Amen.
Hear the prophecy.
Take a little piece of
Master, Lord, your presence, and the Son, the Father, and one more since the sin, God, the suffering, the freedom, the peace, the same time, and the apostles, and the mercy, the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any that forgive you, forgive the sins of any that are in us, our mercy, give grace before the apostles, those who are coming later, priests in the Holy Church, to forgive sin upon the earth, to land, bind the news, to one thing, and also ask and keep in some mankind. For your servants, our brethren, to God, that are before your holy Lord, and send us mercy. And this is our our sins, and Lord, we are on the part of the deal, word of great darkness. O Master, on us, we can smell the love of our mankind, grant us the forgiveness of our sins. Bless us, purify us, absolve us unto holy people, and bless us with fear and sin, us with holy, with well, for you are our God, and the glory and honor, and the name of our God, you, the Father, and the Spirit, of our commandments, and all this is now, and holy, amen. Being Kyrie eleison. Thank you, our Father who art in heaven. Now, in the love of the Father, and the Son, of our God, Savior Jesus Christ, and the gift of the Holy Spirit, with you all, and walk in the peace of the Lord, be with you all. Hey, buddy.
What's up?
Hi. What's up?
Nothing much. How are you?
Give me that عشان I'm مستعجلين.
What?
So I know what an audio jack looks like. I just don't see one.
Check on the bottom.
Oh, never mind. I found one. Yeah, it's been sounding horrible for a few weeks, I guess. So that goes inside in the microphone or the headphones? The microphone, right? In the microphone jack.
Yeah. Is it on the settings on the microphone?
So there's the audio. So here's the settings. Here's the audio. I sent you the options.
Are they the same one or did they change?
Let me close this and open it again. Okay, audio, communications.
There's no output. Okay, so go ahead and do the microphone really.
Okay, now I think there's a new one now. So there's default, there's communications microphone retake, there's XSplit audio.
Try that. Can you
the XSplit, the communications microphone.
Yeah, try that.
And there's XSplit. Do you see them? There's I think the one that let me unplug again. I think the microphone one, the last one here, that's new. Should I choose that?
Okay, as Abuna is working on the sound, we had a little problem with the sound last time. People were watching who cannot make it, and they were sending comment about they could not hear Michael Saad's talk last Saturday. So thankfully, Abuna is working on this, and hopefully the sound will be a little bit better today. And today's speaker is Wintana Ayub. Year, I believe. And remember, we were doing the Timeless Truth book, and she picked a couple of chapters, and I don't want to play favorites now because, I mean, all three of my children are, I mean, I love them all the same, but I mean, I was a little bit biased to not just what Wintana said, but also how she handled the talk. So it was very dynamic, and nobody was participating at the beginning, and by the end, they were kind of like anxious to participate and answer questions and voice their opinions. So I thought that was very nice of her that she convinced people. Good. I think the sound is working. We had a test here, real quick. Okay, I was buying time. So Wintana is going to be talking today to us about the topic of diversity and social justice. And I knew that she was running for this office a couple of years ago, and I knew that she won the presidency of that office down in or over in Cleveland, Case Western. So here is just an excerpt that I found. I'll read it one sentence or maybe two. Wintana Ayub is a senior. She graduated now, but that was written earlier this year. Double majoring in biology and cognitive science. She is president of the university's undergraduate diversity collaborative and on the executive board of For a Better CWRU, which is Wright State University. Case Western Reserve University, a student-led track force. Last year, she served as USG, University Student Government, Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. She also has volunteered with Cleveland office of US Together, a nonprofit assisting refugees, nonprofit organization assisting refugees. And then she has a comment on what she liked about this whole thing, and she picked serving the refugees as the highlight. So I thought that was very impressive also. So I don't know if we have time. I can talk about Wintana the rest of the night. She just starting a master's program in medical physiology at University of Michigan, 1-year program, and also applying to medical school. So wish her all the best. Without further ado, it's Wintana.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Uncle Bahir. I appreciate it. And I can't believe you found that magazine expert about me, but thank you for that. Okay, so my name is Wintana. I'll be giving the discussion today about social justice. As Uncle Bahir said, my discussions are usually very interactive. There's actually a portion in this presentation where it'll require people to start moving around. So just be prepared for that. So like I said, we're going to start off with an activity. This activity is pretty basic. What I'm going to have everyone do is just line up kind of in the middle here. So if everyone could line up. Yes. And for those of you at home, you can also like stand up. So what will happen is, so kind of, okay. And then if everyone could face this way. So then step back. Okay, so I'll be reading off a couple of statements, and if you agree with the statements, step forward, and if you don't agree with the statements, don't move, just stay where you are. Also, if you're at home watching this on YouTube, same, please stand up, and if you agree, step forward. If you don't agree, just stay where you are. Okay, we're gonna start off very easy, and then it's gonna get a little bit trickier. So the first statement is, I am Christian. So if you are Christian, please step forward. Okay, that's an easy one. Everyone step forward. Okay. All right, step back. Okay, the next statement is, I try to embody Christ in my everyday life. If you agree, step forward. Okay, step back. Okay. The next statement is, I am a social justice advocate. Step forward if you agree. Okay, step back. Okay, the next statement is, I believe society's definition of social justice aligns with my beliefs. If you agree, step forward. If you don't, stay where you are. I believe society's definition of social justice aligns with my beliefs. Okay, next statement. As a Christian, it is important to me to be a social justice advocate. Step forward if you agree. All right, step back, everyone. Okay, that was the end. If you all would like to have a seat. Thank you so much for participating. And we'll go through each of these statements and we kind of talk about why you agreed to certain ones and why you didn't agree to other ones. Um, Okay, everything's like about this size. Okay. So to the easy ones, we're all obviously Christian, and we all try to embody Christ in our everyday life. The next statement was, I am a social justice advocate. So if you step forward for this statement, can you please explain why you did?
Our background, we came from our backgrounds. There's a lot of discrimination and there's a lot of injustice based on your religion, your ethnicity, your color. So that's one. Two, as a Christian, also we been taught and we learned that Christian is about social justice.
Yeah, absolutely. So based on your own personal identity as well as just being a Christian, you felt like it's important to be a social justice advocate.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Does anyone else have other sentiments or anyone else want to add anything to that?
My definition is probably oversimplified and sometimes a little naive, but I'm thinking social justice is basically treating everybody the same regardless of how different people are from me, because they're created in God's image. And I always tell people, who am I to discriminate against God's creation?
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else want to share anything to that? Awesome. So the next statement, we kind of had some hesitation to this one. And the statement is, I believe society's definition of social justice aligns with my beliefs. Does anyone want to explain why they disagreed with this statement? It's kind of a tricky one.
It's about the only one where we didn't step up
Yeah,
forward.
that is true.
I think sometimes the definition is a little pushy. I don't know if I can, trying to maybe coerce or kind of twist someone's arm to, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, to accept what is being advertised or claimed as social justice and take it a little bit to an extreme. All of a sudden, sometimes I feel that it's not justice for everybody, but justice for those that are pushing for a new definition. I don't know if I would go as far as agenda. So that's, again, personal feel.
Yeah, so you feel like society's definition is more towards pushing you to accept a certain either belief that you don't necessarily agree with, and also this kind of idea of like cancel culture, that like if you don't accept someone else's belief that you're instantly canceled because you're not willing to change. Yeah,
Not
is that
only,
kind
I
of-
don't know if canceled is, I mean, not only canceled, but sometimes you feel like you're looked down upon and almost ostracized from the society, or like, yeah, these are, and sometimes those that have reservation are the majority, but then they feel kind of threatened if they voice their opinion. So I don't know if that's accurate or not. That's sometimes how I feel.
Yeah. Does anyone else have similar sentiments or?
I agree with Beher. I agree with most of, what you call a society definition of social justice, but I feel sometimes, for example, as a Christian, everyone is allowed to express his faith and culture in America, and I'm only one, people are, trying to be canceled, not, you're pushing toward, my understanding of justice, you accommodate everybody, give everybody equal chance and equal right, and just don't push for certain idea and try to cancel or suppress the other ideas.
Yeah, definitely. And then I'm gonna listen next, right? I don't know, whatever you say. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Abuna, do you want to add anything? I raised your hand. Okay. Yeah, so I feel like this kind of like pushing and like also like Uncle Barry was saying, trying to like coerce you into accepting certain either hidden agendas or beliefs that you necessarily don't agree with. And again, it seems like we're kind of on the consensus that everyone's definition of social justice is accepting of everyone and loving everyone, no matter what your ethnicity, race, religion, and on all the different identities. Is that kind of like the consensus you see? Okay. And then the next one, everyone agreed to this statement. As a Christian, it is important for me to be a social justice advocate. Why did you all agree with this statement?
Well, if I, as a Christian, that's what the Christianity or that my Christianity will teach me that it's very important to me to be treat everyone equally, with whether no matter what their background is or what they look like, how tall or short they are. You're just treating everybody the same way as you want to be treated. So this is what Jesus always wants us to do, and in our teaching, is that you have to be humble and kind to everyone. And just like if you think that if you do something to yourself that's going to hurt you, then you don't have to do the same thing to other people because you know what the outcome is going to be. So it's very important. As my belief will drive how I view or how I conduct myself as far as the social justice. Fine.
All right. I feel like everyone agrees with this. Yeah.
As we follow Jesus Christ's teaching, we saw him in many occasions accepting poor sinners and etc. etc. So if I believe in Jesus Christ, I have to follow his steps, and he accepted everybody, whether he is good or bad. Even for the sinner people, he accepts them even more, and they saw his way of love, and then they changed their life. So, as a Christian, I have to follow my leader, Jesus Christ, and then I have to be socially justice for everyone and accept all other people.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, oh, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. I think the first time I even heard the word social justice was in Sunday school. We were reading a book about how Jesus Christ is like the greatest social justice warrior of our time, of not our time, but like when he was around, and how we should embody him in that way and also become social justice warriors ourselves. So that's how I first got into like social justice and try to continue it throughout my daily life and trying to embody Christ with this mission. Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to the statement or why you agreed before we move on? Okay, awesome. We'll move on. So I guess you're all wondering why I'm giving the talk about social justice and why it's important to me. As Uncle Bahir was saying during his introduction, I was a part of the undergraduate student government as well as the undergraduate diversity collaborative. Um, and those two organizations really helped me to see how other people view social justice because I went to a Catholic high school. I grew up in the church, so I was very familiar with the Christian perspective of social justice. But being in the outside society and seeing other people of different faiths, different backgrounds, those who like aren't familiar with Christ, and seeing what they define as social justice kind of helped me to really hone in on my definition and how I view social justice now today. And really trying to embody Christ in my everyday activities and ensuring that like I'm not steering away from Jesus' teaching of social justice and kind of focusing on society's definition and more so focusing on Jesus' definition. So I'll go through my experience and my background. So this is me. So for the undergraduate student government, you have to run for office. So this is my campaign, and I had to go through elections as well as a debate that was televised to our university, which was really intimidating, but overall helped to like gain more confidence in myself. So this is like my campaign material. Yeah, thank you. And these are some of the things that like I focused on during my time in the undergraduate student government. One of the things we focused on was swipe out hunger. So what we did is we had these unused meal swipes. So our meal plan is extremely expensive. I'm sure those of you that have kids in college have heard that before. It's very expensive. So we would have meal swipes that we didn't use throughout the week. We donate them to students that didn't necessarily have the means to get food on campus. So that was one of the initiatives I worked on. We created a physical resource center. So what we did is we had students donate food, kitchen items like desk supplies, clothing, shoes, and things like that. And we had students that needed, students, faculty, and staff that were affected by COVID-19. They could come in and take whatever they needed throughout the day. I also worked with the Title IX office in updating the Title IX policy. There was changes back in 2020, so our university had to review like this 185-page document to redefine like what like harassment means on campus. I also was a part of hiring private investigators for our university. And then, as Uncle Bahir mentioned in the little introduction, the For Better Crew Task Force that was created back in July of 2020. And this task force, it focused on 7 different areas that we felt like we needed to improve upon as a university. And we had every single department kind of review what their standing policies were and like how we can just better support students on campus. And it's still ongoing and it's still continuing to this day. So those are some of like the kind of overarching initiatives that I worked on. There's also like other initiatives. So I had a committee of 15 members, and I was in charge of just ensuring that they were following up with administrators. They were also keeping up with their initiatives so that they wouldn't fall behind. So that's my time in the undergraduate student government. This is a picture of the Physical Resource Center, just kind of give you like an idea of like what it looked like. Another thing that we worked on is during the summer of 2020, there was a lot of Black Lives Matter protests. And one of the things that we want to do as a campus community is host this day of dialogue, just to have like people of like different backgrounds kind of talk about the matter, as well as give students a space to express any grievances that they may have at the university. And then at the end of this, we created like an action plan for our university so that like we don't just continuously just talk about the same thing over and over again. We actually like, do something about it. So that's kind of what the image on the right is showing is that proposal. And then we ended up presenting that to the president of our university and the president's cabinet at the end of that. These are some of my commitments. I miss them. Just looking at this picture brings back memories. But these are all the lovely members that I worked with during my time at the undergraduate student government. And then for my senior year, I decided to run for a different office. At my school, we have this thing called the SPR, which is in charge of every single student organization on our campus. We're given about a 1 million budget throughout for the whole year to provide funding for all of our student organizations. And I was in charge of specifically the undergraduate diversity collaborative. So any of the cultural organizations on campus, any of like the ethnicity groups, like the Undergraduate Indian Student Association, we were in charge of funding them as well as making sure that they're maintaining their membership. So I was like in charge of about 43 organizations on our campus. We spend about 100,000 a semester, so about 200,000 a year. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But then this is kind of like the structure of like my organization. So I'm in charge of our executive board. So we have the different vice president positions, as well as we have this thing called the Diversity Leadership Roundtable. And what that does is we have one representative from each of our diversity and inclusion organizations on campus come and meet monthly just to talk about how our orgs are doing and what can we do on the campus to ensure that we're not all working on the same thing and not communicating and collaborating with one another. So I was in charge of like facilitating that conversation once a month. So some of the things I did with that is, again, funding all those organizations. We also have this thing called World Expo. My parents came to that. It's where we have like a big showcase of all of our cultural organizations and just having them like present to like administrators to tell them like what we're doing and like also ask them for more money because we're always lacking funding. Yeah, I know. And then we also have the Diversity Leadership Accelerator. It's like a one-day conference where we like teach people how to be a diversity inclusion leader and what it means to be a diversity inclusion leader. We're also building a center on our campus called the Identity Center, and I actually presented to the president and the president's cabinet about what we want that center to look like. And then I was invited to work on the 5-year diversity strategic action plan. So that's a little bit of what I did. So the picture on the left, that's me all in the front. I don't know if you can like see me, but so I was leading this like one-day conference about how we can better our campus in regards to Title IX. And we had a discussion and we had like panelists come in and provide their perspective. And then the image to the right. Oh, yes.
Just what Title IX is for those that are not familiar with, like college
Yes.
campus.
So Title IX, it's basically ensuring that, so back in the day, what happened was that men's sports were getting a lot of funding and a lot of recognition, but there wasn't enough female sports. So it's basically just ensuring that there's an gender equality, I guess, like to oversimplify it. I don't know if there's like more to that definition, but that's basically what Title IX office does on our campus. So yeah. These are also some of my like exec members and people I worked with. We gave away like 200 T-shirts at one of our events, and then these are some of my executive board members. And these are my parents. They weren't on my executive board. They're just there. Yeah, and then at the end of my junior year, I was awarded the Outstanding Junior of the Year award. And then this past May, I was awarded the President's Award for my 4-year. It's awarded to a senior that's committed to the university for 4 years and leadership. So, yeah, thank you. Okay. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about? I kind of like briefly went through it, but if anyone has any questions, we'll continue.
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
If you have budget of $1 million and you spend only 200,000, so is that mean inactive student group don't use their resources to help people more?
It's very rare that we don't use up all that money. We pretty much use all of that $1 million that we're given, because we do have like large campus events that need a lot of funding. So if we don't use that money, it rolls over to the next year, which rarely ever happens.
So all the student group in the campus active and they doing their
Yes,
Okay.
yes, very active. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so I kind of wanted to throw it back to the audience to talk about more about what social justice means to you, and how you embody it in your daily life. So if you want to take like a minute or two, just to, like think about that and come up with examples, then we can go around the room and all share what we think. Okay, that was less than a minute, but I think everyone's ready. Who wants to start? Anyone want to start? Okay. And then we can go around this way.
My very humble understanding is social justice means everybody should be treated equally, everybody should have equally chance, regardless the gender, the color, the background, either culture or their faith. They have to have equal opportunity, treated equally.
And how do you embody that in your daily life? Embody that in your daily life.
Well, I treat patients I treat them as if I'm treating my own family. Treat exactly the same. I treat, the vice president of ProMedica exactly the same way I'm treating anybody else.
Absolutely.
And I agree with what Emil said about him, about you. Because when I go to the hospital, sometimes I look around and then it's like a wait and 2 hours, 3 hours, especially emergency, and the topic comes up. Oh, some of the physicians, and I mentioned Emil, and sometimes people that are just like opening the door, they know him, and they say he's the most wonderful. He's always up and talk to me, and so yeah, he puts his foot where his mouth is. Yeah, he really acts. Yeah, in my case, since I teach college, I was approached once probably by a special group of students trying to convince me to have a section just for them without mentioning anything. I said, well, why do I need to do that? Because it doesn't matter who is in my section. I treat everybody the same way. So I don't need to gear it towards a special group. Now, that said, there's sometimes services that are probably needed for special group of people. Financial, advising, whether it's academic or whatever, counseling. So that's different from how I treat everyone, whether it's students or colleagues or even supervisors, the same way.
Who wants to go next? Yeah, that.
Well, I don't want to sound like repetitive, but social justice mean to me is that following on Christ's footstep and following his teaching, all he taught us is that we have to treat everyone um, with love, respect, and lending hand for those who needs, and treat everybody pretty much equally, like Emil said earlier. It doesn't matter what your position is, what you look like. You just that's what Christ taught us. He said, if slap one this one side and give him the other cheek, but you don't have to, fight it back, or be humble, be kind, and treat everyone with love. And that's what really the social justice mean to me.
How do you embody that in your daily life?
By showing it with example. I try to do that, and but not always successful, but uh, I try to set example for my own family, and I do treat people that the same way that I want to be treated. I don't uh, always in my mind, even if I know someone is wrong toward me, I always think twice before respond in kind. Meaning, being a Christian is not just like we come into church and pray and go. I know that you have to have that uh, uh, in you all the time, and that would really prevent you from if someone did something bad to you, you don't respond in kind. So I try to show by example, by treating people nice as much as I can. Like Emil said earlier, it doesn't matter who it is. I will show my love, and I always try to support and do the right things as much as I can. And not this.
I see social justice as an ideal case. Nobody really can fulfill all the requirements for social justice. Me, myself, I am struggle a lot in a lot of everyday life situation. As Ayub said, I am trying to do my best, but there is some vague situation where you cannot find the ideal application of social justice. So it's a big deal, and I think it's lifelong practice to fulfill the ideal social justice between people to get equality in everything. It's something we have to put effort to fulfill it.
And how do you try and embody social justice in your everyday life?
Again, I am trying. I keep it all the time in the front of me, but again, I feel like I am still short to fulfill it in its ideality. So I am trying.
Thank you, Furian. Buna's next. And then David in the back, you're next after Buna. Are you going to
I just have a couple of questions. I have a comment first about, we keep saying that we try to do what Jesus did. I guess we have to keep in mind, Jesus applied social justice to the people, including the sinners. He accepted all the sinners and treated them well. But accepting the sinners is very different than accepting sin. He did not accept sin. So there's a big difference between accepting a sinner or treating a sinner in a good way and accepting sin, because that gets mixed up in our current society a lot. So as in, if I'm talking about my daily life, if someone comes and said, oh, when I don't know what I did, like I'm either living a horrible life, I'm living in sin, whatever, I'll give him a hug and tell him, come to church. But having them try to push their thoughts that they think are okay, that we know our sins according to our standards, enforcing that on my people is a different story. So I guess, let me ask you a question. Did you in the very beginning define what social justice is? I assume you did, because I was working on the sound system, so maybe I missed that part. Did you define that?
We kind of like collectively defined it.
So what's the definition of social
So
justice, if you
what
would
I
summarize it?
define social justice is treating everyone equally and treating everyone with respect. That's my definition. But it varies per person, and it also varies in our society today.
So let me ask you a question then. If your definition is treating everybody equally and giving everybody an equal chance, doesn't that bring up, like, I think that's missing a part. Like, if I would define it, I would say giving everybody an equal chance as long as their chance is not going to discriminate like against other people or take away from other people's chance. Like you just mentioned, for example, sports leagues and how men's teams were treated different than women's teams, women teams. So did you ever run on campus into issues like about like what you're facing now, like allowing transgenders to join the women teams? That basically is, yes, giving the transgender an extra, like an equal chance, but that's taking away from the real girls' real chance. Like now they are winning all the running races because they are biologically men. And so having girls compete against them is, in my book, injustice for the girls. So do you ever run into this? Like, again, I think, again, in my definition, I would say social justice is giving each person an equal chance as long as that chance does not affect other people. And also along the same line, I would say that what I see in our current time, people trying to just blindly apply what they define as social justice so that they will not be discriminating against anybody, basically ends up discriminating against a lot of people. Or in other words, social justice trying to be an all-inclusive kind of blanket ends up being an extreme to one side and ends up excluding other people. Like, for example, when I was working in the government, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, working for the federal government, we would receive emails, and in the meetings we would be told, you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas. It's called Happy Holidays. No mention of Christmas, no mention of Christ, no mention of whatever, because other people might be offended. So just say Happy Holidays so everybody will be happy. And then the president of NIST will start sending emails, Happy Ramadan, Happy Hanukkah, Happy. So in his books, it's okay to say this to all the other people, but when it comes to Christians, it's not allowed to. So when they're just trying to be all-inclusive, they end up excluding a main group. Sorry, I'm jumping between topics here, I guess. But so I guess I'm trying to maybe ask you for help to redefine or like add a sentence like to fine-tune the definition of social justice for us. Does that make sense? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
so did you run into these kind of problems in terms of how being social, like applying social justice to some group will harm another?
Yeah, I've actually have specifically with the, there was an incident on my campus where a student had passed away. And there was an email sent out to the student body inviting everyone to the student's funeral. And at the end of the email, there was just one sentence. It just said, "May God be with you all." And there was an uproar on my campus because they were saying that this message isn't inclusive to everyone, specifically towards atheists that don't necessarily believe in a God. For them to put God is discriminatory against atheists. And as the student government vice president of diversity and inclusion, students came to me with that complaint. And at first I was shocked because I have never been in that type of situation before. Because like I said, I grew up in a Christian church. I went to a Catholic high school. Everyone I knew around me believed in God. So this was kind of like my first exposure to people that directly disagreed with what I believed in and disagreed with like part of my identity as a Christian. And that was one of the very first difficult conversations I've had to have especially when students are asking us to present this to administrators and telling them that this isn't fair, this isn't right. And I didn't do that. I didn't go to the administrators and tell them that this isn't right, but more so trying to understand like where the other group was coming from, and telling them that this wasn't necessarily trying to discriminate against them. This is more so like respecting the student that had just passed away and refocusing the kind of not the energy, but refocusing our like thoughts and prayers for the student rather than focusing on what the message had said and the fact that there was God in the message. Also, the person was a devout Catholic, so that's the message that they wanted to be delivered to the campus. So that was one of the very first difficult conversations I had, and that happened like within a week of me winning my position. So I was scared. I was like, oh my goodness, if this is what it's going to be like, this might not be the right place for me. But then I realized that God never puts you in a situation where he doesn't think you will succeed. And also, it's also a time for me to like show people what it means to be Christ-like, even if I don't necessarily always say God or Christ, but what it means to embody Christ and what it means to be a Christian. And other people could like see that through me. I think one of my like very good friends like made that statement one time. The fact that there was a friend that we had, I didn't know was atheist, but is a very against God. And she made it known that she was like, didn't like God, didn't like people saying Merry Christmas, things like that. And I didn't know that when I first met her. But she told me the reason why she kind of like stayed around her was she wanted to show her what it means to be Christ-like. And she felt like through her like seeing her daily actions and how she treats other people, she was slowly able to not like convince her, but show her what it means to be a Christian. And that it's not always, oh, you have to do this, this, and that. If you're a sinner, we don't like you, stuff like that. That she kind of had like these false conceptions about. I don't know if that like answers your question. I kind of went on a tangent, but
Yeah, I was going to mention what you just said. Like I was going to make that statement that we, as Christians, when we're applying what we think is social justice, we should like treat everybody equally. Not say, okay, you think about this according to my books, this is a sin, so I don't want to deal with you or I'm going to treat you differently. No, we still treat them all equally, treat them all with respect, and then make it our job to reflect Christ in our daily life. And then through reflecting Christ, we pray that at some point they will be more like us and they will align with us based on how we treat them and how we act in our daily life. So that's how we would all be on the same page. No, I was going to back to a previous point. So if you have something, I mean, she did. Here, there's another one.
keep the mic. We're coming to you next. We didn't forget about you.
So yeah, so the question is that what equal justice mean to you? Like, so if you ask me as Ayub, if I follow Christ, I have to apply that equal justice to everyone equally. It doesn't matter what it is. But at the same time, just like Abuna said, he gave a few examples, as far as like other group of people changing their whatever, and then they want to join female track team or whatever kind of sport. That becomes completely different now. Now we're not talking for, well, if you disagree, if you said, okay, well, you know what, because you are male, you cannot be on the girls' team, you are not denying him an equal justice, but you are advocating equal justice for the girls. So the same thing goes for like there's no Christmas, but like you can't say Merry Christmas. You can't say. But as a Christian, my responsibility is not necessarily that I have to look at those negative things, but I have to, like Abuna said, it's my responsibility to change them or to bring close to me, and so they be close to God and change their mind or their mindset. So the equal justice applying it, that it's supposed to be for everyone. Now and then you're gonna go to the details. Well, what does that mean? If someone is doing something that you disagree with it, this doesn't mean that, okay, because you believe in equal justice, that means it's fine. No, you have to convince those people that what they are doing or what they're saying is not correlate with your religious belief. So that means is, I'm sorry if I'm repeating things, but I completely agree with Abuna with the last point he said, is you have to get close to them and then bring them to Christ. That would be our responsibility to do. So I'm sorry if I may.
I want to go on a limb again. I could be wrong, and say that if someone says, "May Allah be with the family of this students who passed away," would that offend Christian? It should not. If we say, if I'm a Buddhist or whatever, may Buddha comfort the family or the spirit of Buddha, I should not be offended. If the atheist student would say, well, too bad, I don't believe in all of this, guys, and we don't know where that person is, he probably disappeared or vanished. We should not be offended either, because he's expressing. That's, to me, is the justice, a fair chance to express my opinion without denying others the chance to express themselves. So I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I agree. And I was thinking about a way to reword or rephrase what I defined earlier. And I think the way I would say it now is social justice is treating everybody the same, giving everybody the same chance, while keeping in mind that while applying social justice to a certain group, that does not inflict social injustice to another. I think that's a way to put it. Like for example, and something that comes to mind is the family whatever education now in the schools. They are forcing this, like they teach the kids as young as, I don't know, 3rd grade or whatever, that it's okay to be homosexual, gays. It's a normal family setup to have 2 daddies or 2 mommies or whatever. And so they give them all the freedom to go teach that and enforce it to our kids without giving a chance, for example, to me to go to school and explain to them that that's wrong in our belief. So they are giving social justice to that group of people while inflicting social injustice to other groups of people by denying their chance to go do the same. And if you see now in the schools or the media, like, I guess if I've never been to the US and I just fire up the TV and watch some TV shows or whatever, I will assume that this country is 40 to 50% gay. While if you look at the real numbers, it's like 1.5 to 2%. But I guess while they're trying to, like we're approaching June now, they give them the whole month to be proud of themselves. Like we don't have a month to be proud to be Christians or to have a straight family or whatever. So I guess this all in my book falls back to the situation where while trying or attempting to do social justice to a certain group of people, that is inflicting social injustice to another group of people. Does that make sense?
Well said, Yabu.
Does anyone else have anything they would like to add to those sentiments? If not, we're going to go to David in the back. What does social justice mean to you?
Kind of going off of what Abona said, I see originally I was going to say that it's like, and this is from like a collective from everybody, that like everybody should have equal opportunity and like should have like the same ability to do what they want to do, kind of thing. I think that kind of there's a few points to that, and I wasn't here earlier. I came like 15, 20 minutes ago, so I didn't listen to the whole thing. But there's like different things that relate to that, like convictions and how long someone's sentence is, or how what's the word for it? I don't know what the word is for it, but how anyway, I it's like how bad like the sentence is, whether that be like a actually, you know what, I can't find the words for this, but anyway, it's like convictions, how people are treated in regular society, both like on a professional level and a personal level. And I think that it should like advantage the disadvantage in a way, and it kind of goes against what Abuna said, because like people who are trans or gay or any of the above kind of thing, they kind of are disadvantaged in a way, just because they get a lot of hate from a lot of people. But at the same time, like Christians do and other people do, but not to that extent, I would say, in American society. So I think that there's different extents for everything. And I think another thing that should, like the main point that I'm trying to explain is that like to advantage the disadvantaged, I'm trying to get the words out. I'm sorry.
Yeah, take your time.
And I think it's like looking at everybody the same, whether like it, like just looking at another person as just another person. Like there's nothing really to them, kind of thing. And going to what Uncle Ayub said about being Christ-like and trying to kind of spread that light. I think that's what everyone should do, because at the same time, like people who don't believe in God or aren't Christians, like there's still a way for them to go to heaven. And I think it's for them to be Christ-like. And they might not believe that it's Christ-like, but if they act that way, then it is, kind of thing. So I think that you should see everybody as like just another person and treat them how you want to be treated, kind of thing. And I mean, that's what I do on a regular basis. And I don't want to say that because obviously I have my moments, kind of thing. But yeah, I think that's it. Sorry if it was kind of jumbled or anything.
No,
I know
no,
it's like
absolutely.
it's-
That was a good response. How do you try to embody what you just said, trying to advantage the disadvantage? How do you embody that in your daily life?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's like I don't have that power, and I hate to say that because I know like everyone can make an argument that I do, but I would say that like to all my classmates and everybody that I see on a regular basis, whether it just be someone that I saw at the store or something, like I kind of try to treat everybody with as much respect as I can, and then I kind of mess around with them more as I get to know them, and it's like on a friendly kind of thing. It's not like I'm seriously being rude to them, but I think it's just that I'm trying to be like as nice to a lot of people as I can. I'm a pretty quiet guy, so that's not really like what some people can see it as. See, like from an outside view, yes, I am, but yeah. So I think that's it.
Yeah, great answer, dude. Do you have the mic?
One thing also I want to reiterate that, we don't want to get confused by equal justice and accepting. What that means is you love someone, you treat them nicely, kindly, and all of that stuff, but that doesn't mean because we we uttered a few words that we usually don't say here at church, or at least we try to avoid them altogether. But you don't you apply the equal justice to everyone, but at the same time you don't have to condone their action. If someone is doing something wrong, You don't have to, you can treat them nicely, but at the same time, you don't have to accept their conduct or the lifestyle that they choose if it does not correlate with your belief. Christ teach us a certain way, and he's a loving Christ. We are created in his image. We have to follow his footstep. Like Abuna said, he accepted the sinners, but not the sin. So that's what we have to understand. That when we say equal justice, treat everyone nicely, but at the same time, we don't uh, have to condone their action or their lifestyle if it does not meet the standard of following Jesus Christ. That's what I'm saying.
The problem is they try to dispose them.
No, so yeah, I totally agree with Ayub, but as Taysir is saying, while always adding that statement about as long as it doesn't inflict injustice on somebody else, because like especially if you're in a position like a leadership position, you have to again make sure that when you give this kind of justice to people, you're not inflicting injustice or harm on other people, because a lot of the nonsense that we see these days does cause harm. Like, for example, again, a big topic was the gender neutral bathrooms or whatever. Some schools, I think it was Virginia or whatever, they didn't get the chance or the funds to build a third set of bathrooms. So they said, okay, each person has the freedom to choose which bathroom or which locker room to use. And of course, okay, guess what? When you tell high school boys, you're free to use whatever bathroom, they all go to the girls' bathroom, and there were rape cases. So that's not called social justice for those boys or transgenders. This is called you are inflicting injustice for the girls. So again, exactly what you said, but I always add to the end of it, while ensuring that applying that social justice does not inflict injustice or harm to another group of people.
Not enforcing what other people that I accept them for just as a social equality. I will listen, I will hear what you say, but don't enforce what you say on my behalf. That's injustice. A certain kind of group try to enforce or try to put a law in our society to be followed their opinion. That's injustice.
Just one last thing at our office, when I send an email, usually on the bottom, my signature, I always said God bless. I was actually told not to use those words. I was by the manager. Had said my manager at the time said, "Eob, when you send an email, I know uh, who you are, but some of those clients that you sent to might not like it. Just the God bless word is they might not like it." And I said, "Why do you think they don't like it?" And he said, "They might offend them." And I said, "So you telling me this?" And you tell him that because he said that he knows me, and he said that you're the God-loving person, and I know you, but it just might offend those other people that he sent to. And I said, "Okay, well, don't you think that you telling me this would not offend me?" So I said, offending me was okay, but offending others is not. So, you will come to those situations sometimes, like Abuna said, you try to apply this equal justice to a certain group, and then at the same time, you apply an injustice to this other group. And it just is something that we have to fight as a Christian. What my belief says, you have to be apply the equal justice to everyone, but at the same time, I just like, is that what it goes around us, And it is not. So it's the given equal justice to someone and then the injustice, it's going to happen. But as a Christian, we have to face it. We have to deal with it, and we try to or do our best to change minds so they will have the same belief as we do, which is Christ's way, or following Christ's
But
steps.
again, when you say we fight for it, it's more through being Christ-like ourselves, not fight as
No, not
as
physical
in
fight.
or even debating fights. I'm talking. It's mostly through our actions and our way of loving. And as we always mentioned over and over, especially when we're talking about the book, The Timeless Truth, in the Truthless Time, we kept saying that you want to win somebody to Christ. It's not through a debate; it's through your actions. And we kept asking everybody here, how many people do you know joined Christianity because they watched a really good debate? Almost zero. How many people joined the church or joined Christianity because they had a Christ-like neighbor or friend or coworker? That's the majority. Dave, do you want to say something?
I was gonna say that I think that for situations like this, that we should kind of like understand whoever it is that we're like talking to. So like if we say God bless or whatever it may be, that everyone should kind of like understand that everyone's like entitled to their own opinion, and that everyone's like should be able to express their opinion, but they shouldn't be able to express their opinion if it like puts other people down and like is like something negative kind of thing. And I feel like yeah, I think that's like everyone should be able to express themselves and kind of like stay in line, because that's just how it could work. You can express yourself, but if you don't let other people express themselves, what's the point of like trying to be like want to stand up for whatever rights it may be kind of thing, if you don't let other people express themselves, but like within reason and stuff.
Yeah, fair. I think I'm running short on time. I see Abuna standing up.
No, I was trying to.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know if we could. I do have a video. Do I have time to show a video?
Yeah, I mean we ran out of time, but we're all enjoying this, so it's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's like 7 minutes. If not, we can just skip there and go straight to the reflection. It's like 7 minutes. I don't know.
Should we share it instead on the group?
Yeah, let's do that. Instead, we're going to go to the reflection section. I just wanted to, decompress and have this time where everyone just thinks about these 4 questions. And then we'll have each person go around the room and just focus on one question that you felt like you wanted to answer.
No, that's fine. Let's do this.
Yeah, so whoever wants to answer any of these questions, feel free to raise your hand.
The first one, I think, did answer, and I did pretty much said, on my daily life, I would like to apply the associate justice on my daily life. So I think, like Emil said, there's a patient that comes in, doesn't matter whether that person is rich or tall, short, whatever, he treat them with the same, like a family. So I think, is that?
Good. Does anyone want to answer question number 2?
And on the second one, if I may say it so quickly, as a church community, we try, but our work, we have a lot of work to do.
And I think overall we do a great job in terms of welcoming everybody, and we have a very diverse congregation, and I think the people of the church do a great job welcoming everybody in, and whether it's someone who's not Christian at all or from whatever background or whatever country, we always try to remind ourselves to not be like the world also. Like as I mentioned earlier, sometimes the whole world, as they try to be all inclusive, they end up going too far and being a little bit exclusive of some groups. Sometimes we face that at church, but we always try to like take a step back, take a more a better look and adjust accordingly. But yeah, that's,
Yeah, does anyone want to answer question 3 and 4? We're running short on time, so don't hesitate. Like where?
I think for 4, David said something. I think he said advantage, disadvantage.
I was
Okay.
just going to go back to that point, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that kind of resonates with me a little bit. I mean, makes me think a little bit more than just going through my life as I see. You talked about, I mean, food pantries and stuff during your experience, and one other thing I think that we didn't talk about. You're doing some volunteer work for needy or
The
almost
Refugee
like
Crisis Center, yeah.
what's there?
The Refugee Crisis Center.
Refugees. Thank you, thank you. I think that would we need to do more of that.
And, relating to that, what David said about disadvantages, and I think I talked about this recently. He was talking about how the gays and transgenders, whatever, already have this disadvantage of everybody hating them, and I shared this before, but let me just restate it briefly. There was a turning point for me in my life how I view these things after I attended a couple of the what do you call the suicide awareness walks or things. So basically, after we do the walk or the marathon or whatever, they bring in a lot of suicide survivors to speak. Like they attempted suicide, they failed in it, and then they came. And I would say 95% of those who were speaking were gay or transgender or whatever, and they just felt that there was lack of love in their life. Nobody was accepting them, and they got to a point where they had to attempt suicide. And then they were lucky, through God's grace, that they failed in that. And there they were, trying to advocate for like suicide awareness and so on. So that got me to a point where I realized what David said is these people, we shouldn't be looking at them as sinners. I mean, yes, they are in our books, but we should also realize how much like they got to this point due to lack of love. So that brings us back to the point of what should we do in terms of getting to apply social justice everywhere. Is it's our duty to be Christ-like, and the first thing Christ was doing was showing love to everybody, no matter how the person was a sinner in his books. He showed absolute love. He would travel ways to go to them. He will rescue them from the people around him wanting to stone them or whatever. And this love is what turned their lives upside down and put them on a completely different track. So again, as we always say, God hates sin but loves the sinners. And so again, it's if there's more love in the world will look very differently in terms of the households of people getting divorced, in terms of people committing suicide, in terms of people like it's all lack of love. The world is hungry for love, and that's what I was told all along during my 40 days preparing for priesthood. So priesthood is fatherly love. Like, doesn't matter how many hymns you know or how good of a sermon you can give. It's all about fatherly love. And I've experienced this day in and day out. A simple hug can go a long way, way further than a 2-hour biblical sermon or just a text message or whatever. Like, showing love is way more important than anything else. But anyway.
Good way to conclude. I don't know if anyone else has any final remarks or.
I just investing seriously if we can do one day discussion about this topic.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Summer, because I feel like everyone still has a lot to say,
Yeah.
and even more people, if they join, they will have a lot to say. Because again, it's the whole life practice to be a Christ life and apply social justice. So I suggest if the committee of this group and the board
Actually, I'm going to suggest something even further than that, but let me turn off my microphone first.
Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for engaging in this
All right,
discussion.
Thanks,
and-
Vinton. All right, so what time is it? It's already 9 o'clock. Okay, so let's conclude here. Take a 5-minute break to just grab a drink of water or something, and we'll start a quick tasbih. In the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Here's we pray, thankfully, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. In Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now may the love of God the Father, the grace of the only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, the coming gift of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Go in peace, may the peace of the Lord be with you all. So again, we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll start the tasbih.
Thank you.
I lose the church. You lost it. So that's the only thing alive.
They expected you to try to